After barely escaping erasure, Cell finds himself in an entirely new continuity. He can't believe that he almost lost there. But more importantly, he wants to figure out where he's supposed to be right now. Welcome to this brand new story. This will be a different format than my usual videos, as now this is no longer a what if. This is an original series about present Cell, who we'll just refer to as Cell Prime. He's the main character, but not a standard protagonist. He's not a hero by any means. Where will we go from here? Now, we begin episode 1 of Cell Prime vs. the Saladverse. Cell floats around in nothingness. He has no clue of where he is or when he is. Did he break into another universe? Another timeline? Another continuity entirely? He's not sure. And more importantly, is this a place that already existed, or is he just in a state of nothingness? Was it a place that he created? He has a lot of questions right now. He's glad that he was able to escape being erased permanently. But more importantly, he still needs to grow stronger. He wants to grow as powerful as possible. He got a small taste of power, and he's drunk off it. He's not anywhere near where his limit should be. And even if he does have a limit, he's going to go beyond that. But before any of that, he needs to figure out where he is, because it seems like he's in a place where, well, nothing exists. It doesn't even seem like just regular empty space. It's a weird feeling. And also he notices something else pretty strange. The power that he recently attained in his battle is leaking out of his body. Despite getting so much power, he needs to improve himself. His body just can't handle it. It's actually completely breaking down from holding all this power. Thanks to his passive regeneration and how strong that regeneration is, even though his body is completely breaking down, it instantly heals itself. So it just feels like the energy's leaking out, but if he didn't have that regeneration, he'd be done already. Well, in order to find out where he is, maybe he could just teleport somewhere. He does have access to the Kai Kai, so at least that could help him, he hopes. He tries to Kai Kai, but there's nothing around to Kai Kai too. He tries into transmission, and that doesn't work either. So he's in an area of complete nothingness, and it seems like he's not going to be able to break out of here anytime soon, at least if his power drains. Maybe if he could try doing what he just did, he could hop dimensions again. Before all this power fades, he tries using it one last time, powering up to his absolute maximum. And with a stroke of luck, it works again, opening what looks to be another portal. But it leads to somewhere completely different. It doesn't go back to his home because his home is destroyed. Everything there is erased, and he doesn't know the scale of what he just caused, nor the scale of the thing he's about to get into. But this does interest him, the fact that he can seemingly hop timelines. At least that's what he theorizes is happening. He can't tell where he is. He's clearly not just hopping universes, so it has to be that, right? Or maybe it's something beyond that. Maybe he's doing more than just hopping timelines. Cell isn't entirely sure, but at least for now, he's just going to consider them different dimensions. He's got to figure out how to do this willingly, and how to control where he goes, as well as keeping some sort of map of everything. The new place he arrives in seems just like the universe he was in before. He tries to Kai Kai, and he actually goes to a few different planets that he recognizes. He's in Universe 7 again. At least that's what it seems like. He tries to do something that he saw one of the Kais doing, at least before he killed those Kais. They had some crystal ball that gave him an overview of the universe. So he creates one in his hands. Unsure of how to work it, but he tries to control it. And as he looks around, everything is revealed to him. It seems that he is in Universe 7. And it's so strange because a lot of this seems similar, but it doesn't seem like anyone knows he's here or anyone even cares that he's here. It's almost as if he doesn't exist here, or at least isn't supposed to exist. Cell has no clue of where he is right now, but he senses a familiar power approaching him. A key signature that he's never actually interacted with, but one that he knows. Someone is flying through space towards him. Suddenly Cell is grabbed by someone, tackled into a nearby desolate planet. He quickly throws up a shield, and whoever tackled him can't reach him directly. There's a cloud of dust around him, and Cell drops the shield. And Cell can instantly recognize who the man is. But the man doesn't recognize Cell. He sent Cell's strength all the way across the universe, and that power that he felt his own key within it. It's Frieza. And he didn't know what he was dealing with, but he wanted to figure out exactly what that was. Oh, it's just Frieza. This doesn't concern Cell too much because first of all, the last time he fought Frieza, he wasn't that big of a threat. Which also means that if they were to fight, it wouldn't even be interesting for Cell anyways, but at least with Frieza he could actually ask him a few questions. It seems like Frieza doesn't know who Cell is and Frieza has no clue. And he asks Cell to actually explain who he is, demanding to know why he feels his own energy and what seems to be his father's energy, as well as Goku and Vegeta, and a bunch of other different energies within him. Cell landed in a timeline where he was destroyed, a timeline where President Cell was never born. Cell didn't just hop universes or timelines, he hopped continuities. The continuity he exists in, it's one that follows the main Dragon Ball Super manga timeline. Everything that's happened in the manga up to the superhero arc, that all happened here. It's a continuity where nothing was affected by Cell. Cell still has no clue about how all these timelines and continuities work, but he'll get more into that later. Because for now, he's finally found an opponent to test his power out against. So this Frieza might have a different backstory, and Cell hopes that means he's stronger. Although again, he's not really expecting a big fight. He defeated Golden Frieza without any effort, so he laughs this off too. Although what he doesn't realize is the fact that he defeated a Frieza who didn't train yet, one who never got the black form. And he only realizes this when Frieza shows that off, transforming into this brand new state that's unfamiliar to Cell. He feels an immense amount of power emanating from him. He didn't realize Frieza had a form beyond Golden. Frieza has no clue of who this guy is, and Cell is kind of pissing him off by not answering him. and also the fact that he's making a mockery of Frieza. And just as important as both of those things, Cell appears to be a threat to him. So he's going to kill Cell as quickly as possible. Especially because he senses his father's ki in here, as well as his own and those monkeys. He can't explain why, but this guy must have been engineered somehow with his own power. He knows that androids existed on Earth. He even fought alongside them, but nothing like this. That's his only theory as to what this guy is. And Cell's intrigued. Maybe that power that Frieza's showing is something that he can harness. He does want to see more of it, but he doubts it's going to do much against him. He fights Frieza without transforming, and he gets a good gauge for his strength. He's definitely a lot stronger than the Frieza that he killed recently. Although, he actually is able to push Cell a bit. Cell's holding back a lot, so he decides to show off a bit more of his power. Also remembering that a lot of it leaked away. Even though a lot of it was lost, he should still have more than enough to fight Frieza. And this is a good warm-up battle. They fight for a bit. Frieza takes it very seriously, and Cell takes it somewhat seriously, showing off more power as the battle goes on. But at some point he is a bit bored and he realizes this battle is going nowhere, so he displays a little bit more of the powers that he gained. All at once, he tries to summon everything that he has. Whatever powers he can combine at any given time, he tries to use that. He tells Frieza that he doesn't really have a form beyond perfection, because what he does have is something that's constantly fluctuating. He had some experience with this in the battle that he was just in. But this isn't a standard form. Pretty much every time he's used it, it's changed. As he flares up into it this time, he briefly goes into Ultra Instinct, and one of his eyes turns red like granola's. But the power leaks out of him. He's still not in the right state of mind for Ultra Instinct. But what's left is something different which he actually hasn't used yet. At least not a lot of. The aura of a god of destruction surrounds him. So, he guesses this is the appearance that this form will take on for now. He hasn't really thought of a name for this state of being. It's not a standard transformation. Whenever he summons it, it mixes all of his great latent powers together and puts Cell in his strongest possible state, hence the name Prime. He's in his prime right now. This is the strongest level he could achieve at the moment. A combination of his god of destruction powers, a combination of the Cerealian abilities that he's gotten, as well as some access to magic, from Boo, Bobbidi, Moro, all the Supreme Kai, and pretty much anyone else who has access to magic. Granted, he hasn't had many fights as Prime Cell, but every time he's used this state of being, his fighting style changes. He needs to adapt to whatever powers he's using. And who knows, maybe next, Frieza's golden form will be part of it, maybe even that black form, which is exactly why he spent some time studying it. And when he transforms into Prime Cell, he's easily able to defeat Frieza, and this is a nice stress test for Cell.
Normally he might have not won this, but it seems he grew significantly stronger from his last battle. So much stronger that he simply can't contain all the power he has.
He drops out of his Prime form, and he looks over the body of the defeated Frieza. He's somehow still alive. He knows that Frieza and his species are very durable. He could actually absorb Frieza's powers with magic, but Cell needs to build up his body. So he needs a real fight, one without shortcuts, and his next fight, he's gonna have to not give himself a handicap. So he does something weird. Using magic, instead of taking energy, he gives some to Frieza, completely healing him. He wants to fight again, and this time he'll give himself more of a handicap. Naturally, Frieza's infuriated. Cell's clearly making a fool of him. He defeated Frieza and then healed him out of pity and told him to fight again. It's a level of embarrassment that Frieza's never felt, and he's so angry right now that he could barely maintain it. They instantly jump back into a battle. This time Frieza will kill him for sure, as they fight across the entirety of Universe 7, with Cell trying to hold back as much power as possible. He wants Frieza to hurt him. That's the only way he's gonna grow. Unfortunately, Frieza's not too interesting of an opponent for Cell. So after this fight, Cell will dispose of him, possibly just draining whatever power he has. Frieza might make for a good snack after all. As they fight across Universe 7, of course this does alert some others. Cell wonders who else in this universe there is that could fight him, and as he fights Frieza, he tries to think through this, but he feels a weird sensation. Amidst the battle, he attacks Frieza, and he accidentally puts way too much power into it, completely obliterating Frieza, but he didn't intend to do that. He feels a sharp pain throughout his body. It's a weird feeling that he can't even describe. It's almost like he's vibrating rapidly, like his entire body was being torn apart for a second and then just went back to normal. He has no clue of what it is, or why it caused him to use so much power. But then he remembers back to what happened with Goku Black. Since his drone did get to see a bit of it, in that brief moment where Goku Black actually traveled to the past, he was forcibly pulled back into his timeline. And Cell thinks that maybe that's what just happened to him, or at least was trying to happen. He has no timeline to be pulled back to. It's essentially like he glitched in this reality, like he doesn't belong here. But he doesn't belong anywhere. And this angers him because it caused him to kill the guy that he was just training with, or rather, using as a punching bag. So this leaves Cell with a lot to think about. He has a bunch of new goals in mind. For one, of course Cell wants to get a bunch of new abilities. Whatever he can get, he's going to get. 2, he's going to fight stronger people. Naturally, this has always been a goal of Cell's. 3, he wants to strengthen his body to hold even more power. Sure, he can get all these new abilities, but he needs his body to be able to maintain more power within it. Otherwise, there's no point in stealing energy from everyone else. 4, he wants to make a roadmap for dimensions and figure out where he is. 5, he wants to figure out how to hop dimensions willingly. 6, he wants to figure out why he's glitching and how to stop that, and what the source of it is in the first place. And finally, a goal that's somewhat on the back burner. He wants to get back to his main continuity and get back at the Zeno that erased his timeline, just to claim victory there once and for all, and then go on a free-for-all throughout dimensions. He wants to see if he could hop dimensions again, so he tries something different this time. He spawns 2 Cell Juniors, and instead of him using his power to break dimensions, he tells them, clash with each other and use so much power that it breaks the dimension. And of course the Cell Juniors obey, and it actually works to his surprise. By using a ton of power, he's able to break dimensions, and if there's 2 forces combining with each other, like for example 2 powerful opponents clashing, it's able to break dimensions really easily. And you know, this could be useful for him. These 2 Cell Juniors, they could basically be his guides. They could also help him throughout this. He's going to keep them around, especially because they're able to help right now. And for the first time, he's actually going to name these Cell Juniors. One of them will be named Raibo, and the other named Gogi. The 3 of them travel through this portal, wondering where they're going to go next. As the portal opens and closes, all the way on Beerus' planet, Whis is looking through his staff. Of course, they've taken note of this battle. Goku, Vegeta, and Broly were in the middle of a sparring match, too preoccupied to even sense what was happening, but of course Whis picked up on it. And it's interesting to see that someone killed Frieza, and from what he saw, it looks like Cell. Which is really strange because he knows about Cell, the one that was on Earth, but that doesn't make sense because both cells were destroyed, the present Cell and the one from the other timeline that was killed versus Gohan. And then there was that other one, Cell Max, the one who wasn't the original Cell, who was also recently defeated, but he's completely unrelated. And from what Whis could tell, this guy was breaking through dimensions, and it didn't look like he belonged here. They'll find out about Frieza dying later, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Although he's not going to tell them right now because it's going to raise many questions. So instead, he decides to contact someone who oversees more than him. This isn't his responsibility. Outside of all continuities and timelines, there's a strange domain that oversees everything. And there's only one instance of this domain. We could refer to this area as the Supreme Time Nest. It's one that watches over all these continuities. And there is someone that doesn't exist in any continuity, just in this one domain. This is the Supreme Kai of Continuity, aka just Cronoa. Now, she's already dealt with this in the past, and the present, and the future. She's actually recently created something new that she calls the Time Patrol. And they've already seen some weird, crazy threats. View, for example, is out there somewhere, and in one other continuity, Lord Slug grew beyond expectation and became the main threat there. And there's all other continuities where one thing changed, causing a massive butterfly effect. The strongest warrior at the Time Nest right now is one that goes by the name of Piccolo, from a continuity where Lord Slug became the main threat. And with this new Time Patrol, Cronoa actually has to explain how everything works. There's a hierarchy of everything, one that might go beyond their comprehension. So of course they know that there's multiple universes, and there's multiple timelines, each with their own instances of those universes. But beyond that, there's something called continuity. To outline it, she shows an example. Let's use the main continuity, or what everyone calls canon. There are 12 different universes, formerly 18 there. And all those universes exist in one timeline. There's multiple different timelines, like the present timeline, and future Trunks' timeline before it was erased, as well as all the other ones that were created. But holding all those timelines together is a continuity. And while there is a finite number of universes and timelines, there's an infinite amount of continuities. This specific Cronoa that we see though, she's the Supreme Kai of Continuity. And this is more like a continuity patrol if anything, but we'll call it the What If Time Patrol for simplicity. She could go after Cell herself, but the issue is, he's too tough to find. Plus, she's the only one capable of cleaning up his mess. She is powerful on her own, but the continuity patrol will be better to find him, although they might need more recruits. Okay, as he's getting all this explained to him, Piccolo asks, why can't they just hire a bunch of really strong people if there's infinite timelines? And Cronoa says they could, but it depends on if they want to do it first of all, and most importantly, if they could be found. There are infinite continuities, and the continuity patrol isn't going to skim through everything to find the rare strong one. However, seeing timelines where anomalies occur, like Piccolo's for example, that's how strong members can be found. Cronoa did find a few others that cause anomalies, but those anomalies were fixed before she could even figure out what happened. There was one timeline for example where Goku never hit his head, and remained as Kakarot, and somehow that led to him becoming really strong. That timeline actually caused a few anomalies, and she's a little bit mad about it. But more importantly, she doesn't know if she could hire people like that because, well, he's still on a path to redemption. She hasn't found too many other strong continuities just yet. There was another one a while ago where Gogeta and Vegito fought, but as far as she could see in those continuities, not too much change after that. What they really need is a strong continuity that's put on the map, that also has strong, good-hearted warriors. And this Cell, wherever he's from, it seems like he's breaking through continuities, which again isn't too new to them. Cronoa's Time Patrol has a few other members, but right now the only ones on the planet are from Piccolo's continuity. It's Piccolo, Granola, and Hit. We'll get introduced to more of the Time Patrol later on, which we'll refer to as the What If Time Patrol. When they hear about Cell, Piccolo asks if they could just use Super Shenron to fix this. Shouldn't he be able to do so? But Cronoa says it's impossible. Super Shenron can grant any wish, but it only affects his continuity. Technically, Cell has no continuity, so no Super Dragon Balls can affect him. From what she could see, Zeno actually erased the entire continuity, not just the timelines. The Zenos in that continuity did survive, but no one else did, and they're just floating around in nothingness. If you remember back from Cell's origin, when Champa asked Super Shenron to reverse everything, it actually split the timeline into two. There was a timeline where Cell was defeated, and one where everything continued like nothing happened. But both those timelines are gone now because the entire continuity's gone. So within all those different timelines, any of the Super Shenrons could have worked. But those specific Super Shenrons are gone. There are infinite others, but they exist in different continuities and can't affect other continuities. So they can't just use that to fix everything that Cell's done. He technically doesn't belong where he is. He doesn't belong anywhere. He's essentially the continuity version of homeless. So they're actually going to need to go after him directly. Thankfully, Cell isn't destroying timelines or different continuities either. He's just making holes in them to travel, but every time he jumps into a new timeline or continuity, it splits the timeline that he's currently in. For example, when he first hopped into the universe where he fought Black Frieza, it split the timeline into two, splitting at the exact moment that he got there. So there is a timeline where he never killed Frieza and everything continues as normal, like he never existed. No one will know what happened unless they check the time rings. Simply put, whenever Cell ends up in a new continuity, he ends up in a random timeline. And this timeline basically gets duplicated. If he goes into a continuity with only one timeline, then it'll have two identical timelines, splitting at the exact moment he appears. Cronoa says this is an issue because he's causing instability between timelines and continuities. Instability in timelines is one thing, everyone here is used to that, but between different continuities, that's a completely separate threat. It's on such a large scale that if it gets out of control, no one could fix it. Entire continuities will be destroyed, and Cell will be able to destroy anything and everything just by hopping rapidly. And there's also another issue. Cronoa just heard about Cell from one of the infinite Whis, but again, it's one of infinite Whis. That was just in one timeline, one continuity. They have no way of tracking where Cell is, so they just have to keep a lookout for him right now. They can't even go after him just yet. This isn't like finding a needle in a haystack. It's more like finding a particle within a universe. Actually, no, a larger scale than that. They might need a bigger crew. The What If Time Patrol is facing the first big threat they've seen in a while. And completely unbeknownst to Cell, he just created a brand new enemy. One who might actually be capable of stopping him, if they act quick enough. But we'll continue all that in episode 2 and beyond. So what do you guys think of this story so far? I know it might have been a bit complicated explaining everything, but I hope this was a good introductory episode for what's about to occur. And hopefully the diagrams I showed on screen will help with everything. The story we're about to start has a pretty wide scope after all. But hopefully you're enjoying so far. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more of this. It lets me know that you like this content, and it really does help with the channel. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.